Hey, Andrew, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
I live in downtown Chicago. I've been a sales professional for 20 plus years, and I've had the pleasure of raising two daughters, which I love dearly, and they are the love of my life. So a little bit about me.
So that gives you plenty of motive to continue your sales success.
Yeah, I think it's taught me a lot raising two daughters.
Yeah.
You really learn to appreciate things differently, right? And you don't overcorrect and you don't overreact because things will change every 15 minutes for sure.
And I've seen that over my career, especially when it's cross gender,
Yeah,
because you know what it's like to be a little boy, right?
right,
But you
right.
don't know what it's like to be a little girl.
No, no, I can honestly say I don't know what it's like to be a little girl.
Which is a lot like selling because you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Yeah, Brett, I think that that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned in life is really raising my two daughters is how to read a room, because
Yeah.
reading your daughter in the faces of your daughters will tell you where you should go.
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was they wanted a puppy. So we drove 60 minutes outside of the city. And the whole way there, I said, I'm not getting a white dog. I'm not getting a white dog. We get to the puppy, to the breeder, and lo and behold, it's nothing but white dogs. So I said, we'll have to come back when there's a darker dog. So 60 minutes in the car of two girls crying was a life lesson.
You didn't get a white dog? No.
I got a black and white dog.
Yeah. You compromised. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. And why sales? Was there a particular drive there?
I've had actually there was a drive there. I've always been in sales, whether it was when I was in high school, I was, selling things at a lumber yard, and then that manifested into a job at Nordstrom. I grew up in Seattle. And I just really identified with the process of sales and a meaningful conversation with people about sales. So I've never sold products. I've always been a consultative seller. And I've really found it's intriguing, to say the least, to learn other people's businesses.
And is it kind of consistent with like the psychology degree?
It is. I think that what my psychology degree from Seattle University brought me was the ability to understand and different perspectives of people that I'm working with and that are on my team or that I'm part of their team, and identifying key personalities and really understanding what makes them and motivates them.
Yeah. And has there been a particular sales job that sticks out that you liked the most, or was a best match for you and your personality?
No, I've actually had the distinctive luck to actually just land into careers that, as you can see by my CV, I've just had a wide variety from
Yeah.
financial MasterCard to running a cosmetic company to selling Michael Jackson. And I think every one of those stops in my career path have made me a better person and a better salesperson, because if you stay in your lane and never venture out, you don't learn that there's many great things in the world to learn about. And I've
Yeah.
enjoyed every part of my professional career.
And how about personas that you sell to? Have you bonded with one type versus another?
No, I'm pretty gregarious, and I like to have fun, but I can also have a very serious side to myself. And I usually, in a sales situation, I really bond with the analytical type of person.
Yeah.
And the analytical type of person and the strategic buyer is the one that I really align myself with.
And why is that? Because that's kind of the opposite of psychology, isn't it?
Yeah, I really find that those type of buyers will really let you know straight up
Straight
what they
up.
want to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
There's no hinting around. There's no, they're really like, these are the types of things that we need, and what can you deliver on these needs? And I've always been the type where I've under promised and over delivered.
Yeah. And what's made you stick out though in that space? Did you always have something that they did need, or
No, I've never, I really am waiting for that career opportunity where the phone is calling. I
you
need
haven't
your
found
product.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. If you find it, let me know, Brian, please. But I've always been a hunter gatherer, an individual contributor, and what I find is taking disruptive industries and making it really applicable to the industry. So taking maybe an underdog and figuring out how we can make that more prevalent to the industry that I'm calling on. For instance, when I first started, one of my professional job career-wise is I worked at Muzak. And when I started Muzak, it was a 72-year-old company that had probably the worst brand equity. In fact, actually, when we rebranded the company, it was done with a company called Pentagram, which is really well known. And our key creative said, I'm taking this job because if I fail, no one will know.
And you like the underdog part? Is that?
I do like the underdog. I love the underdog part of it. When I started at Muzak a number of years ago, I really flew from Seattle and I was transplanted to downtown Chicago. And I thought, coming from the Pacific Northwest, where you could go skiing and sailing in one day, and landing in Chicago in a windowless office in Rosemont, which is out at O'Hare, I really had to fight the fight. And then I got hung up on in a windowless office for 6 to 8 months. And then I said, I got to figure out a better way. So somewhere between here and New York, I came up with a strategy that really turned the company around. And by doing that, we became the industry leader, and we put our competition really out of business.
Yeah. And how did you do that? Was there a particular approach, a strategy that was something you can share?
Well, when you're handed your hat a number of times, you got to either really quickly
you either run or you fight.
Yeah. You do. So I figured out a strategy that made, at that time, I was doing custom music programs for all major retailers. Domestically, that was my scope. So I had to figure out a process, a strategy that would be appealing not only to the creatives, the chief marketing officers, but also to the purchasing CPO and the CTO and CFO. So I had to come up with a program. And what I did is I figured out that when we build a music program, we really are like an architect. We start out with one line that adds to 2 lines, 3 lines. Next thing you know, you have a building. And I applied those processes to building a music program. And what it gave the chief marketing officers the ability is to tangibly say, this is the product, this is the assortment, this is the visuals, this is the clothing, this is everything that we're doing in the store, and the music is going to be the soundtrack to that. And oh, by the way, that also then, that strategy, that whole 360 look, the CFO could understand that it's an integrated part of all of it.
That's a really tough sell.
Really tough sell.
Yeah.
Try to understand how your Michael Jackson is better than my Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Well, not that, and trying to sell both to the CMO, the marketing group, and the financial group at the same time.
Yeah. It's, each one is different, and understanding what the needs and what the desires of each one of those positions and some of the limitations that they have was really fundamental for my growth.
And that's what I consider really complex, in that it's not just showing up and showing what you do and solving a particular known wanting to address a problem. It's kind of building a vision with them.
Yeah. One of the things I learned too over the years is when I would think that this was the right solution. So I'd have a PowerPoint or a presentation built what I thought the right solution would be. Almost 50% of the time was not the right solution. Right. So my sales process was to consult, to understand the pain points, to understand where they are in the budgeting process, and then come back with a solution. Maybe it was a 1, 2, or 3 tier solution. But to come back in a consultative kind of way and saying, this is how I think we can help your business, or this is what I've heard.
And that's it, because I've got a lot of people in my course that are kind of in the advertising space. And I say, don't do the madman beauty contest thing.
Right.
Because what's the likelihood that you're going to hit the nail on the head without having a long interactive dialogue with them?
Yeah. We all are looking for that magic, bullet, and it just doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah. Because it's really just random chance. It's not that you're better. It's just that you happen to be better than the other guy that day on some topic that they connect with.
Right.
But most likely there's going to be like, nah.
Right. And what do you say at that point? I'm on the earlier flight.
Right. Well, that's it. Your approach was more co-develop the solution with them.
Yeah. Codevelop, and those relationships that I established years ago, I've kept in contact with them, which I think is really important to do. I may be in a completely different company at the time, and it may not be something that is applicable to my contacts, but I've always kept in contact with them over the years throughout every city in the US and some international. So when I'm in a city, and I'll call them up or email them and say, you want to have dinner with me? And usually, we have dinner, and it's been really great.
And also, you don't come across as a sales rep. You don't have the sales rep voice, or trying to present as a professional sales rep, right?
Right.
And I think that's the key thing to being successful in sales, is not being viewed as a rep.
Yeah. I mean, I will get the answers out of you, but you won't know you're even telling me your answer.
Well, that's it. It's the more I want to talk with Andrew, not that I either have to, or I'm exchanging something here. It's a transaction.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to either develop that or not, or avoid getting into the sales rep rut?
I don't think I ever, to be honest with you, Brian, I never ever had it. I think that I did work at a company one time where the professional selling, the Xerox training course or whatever derivative of that I went through, right? And it was, I had a manager at the time that said, okay, now these are the confirmed steps and reaffirm and all. And at a certain point, a really smart buyer is going to catch that and say, Mr. Robot, you're not a robot. And it gets to be kind of not serious and not appropriate.
Well, they also come to the sales conversation like a client. They're not open, they're not sharing. They're just like, tell me who you are, what you do, why I need it, what's it cost.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's not a very useful conversation.
Yeah. And we've all been in that scenario where it's the one person in the back of the room with the arms folded. My job is to understand what makes that individual tick.
Right.
I will tell you a really funny story. When I was working on this SaaS model, which is called Supply Hive, which is fantastic. It's a rating review platform. And we went out and had a big meeting at a consulting company out in San Francisco. And on our flight out there, my partner, Mike, and I had somehow ended up with a mood ring in my briefcase from one of my daughters, right?
Wasn't yours?
So I'm in this meeting. I'm in this meeting, and Mike is presenting, Supply Hive and stuff. And I looked at the key person in the meeting, and I pulled out that mood ring and I handed it to her. And I said, if he says anything that's intelligent, it's going to turn green. Now the mood ring was always green anyway. So I said, if he says anything intelligent, your ring is going to turn green. And so she puts it on and it's green. I said, Mike, you actually said something that's intelligent. She laughed, and it lightened it just created a levity to the room where people felt like they could let their guard down, that we're all here for a reason.
And that rapport building exercise, it appears gimmicky, but that's breaking the ice.
Yeah. It just really lets people relax. And one of my things my mantras that I've always believed in is that we all want to be part of a tribe and we all want to be part of a community. And I think that post-COVID, the longing for the community and the tribe and the humanity of the business and I think we're all coming back to that. We want it back fast.
Well, that tribalness, it's kind of in our DNA.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't up until a couple, maybe 100 years that we were always in our tribe. Yeah. Right. And we never dealt with anybody outside our tribe.
Years ago, you may have read this article. It was about Starbucks and why you go to a particular Starbucks and why people in Manhattan will walk. There's Starbucks in every corner, really, in Manhattan. People will walk 5 blocks the opposite direction to go to a Starbucks every morning, probably not in the middle of August, but they will go to that Starbucks because the barista will know their name or ask them, how are you doing, Brian? How's your morning going? Where's your dog? And because we want that connection, we'll go there to make that connection. We want to start our day in a familiar space.
And that's it. And as salespeople, we're constantly trying to get into someone else's tribe.
Yeah.
And,
I think
and that mood ring thing breaks down that tribal. We're both here to solve a problem. We're on the same side.
yeah. I think, you know, and I love humor. And I think that at a certain point, if you can't laugh during the day, then you've really kind of missed the whole purpose of the day.
Yeah.
And I remember years ago, we had we had an office where my office, you could exit the front door quickly through the conference room. And I had shipped out or purchased a clown suit with the feet and the nose and the wig and the whole deal around Halloween. And my boss was in having a meeting with a vendor, and it was a very casual, fun environment, right? So I put the outfit on, put the wig on, put the nose on, and I walked right through the conference room. And they stopped and looked at me, and I said, "Well, I'm off to my other job."
Well, I mean, humor's like one of the natural ways of breaking that down.
By the way, I don't like clowns, but it was an outfit that I had. But I thought it was just really funny, and it really broke down. We built a relationship with that vendor. We did millions of dollars with that vendor because that rep really enjoyed working with us.
Yeah.
And by doing that, he went to his senior management, got us better percentages and better better pricing and costing for us. So,
and so what motivates you? Is it you just enjoy selling? Is it the, financing the two daughters? Is it the...
well, you'll never have enough money for that. Well, I enjoy grabbing an idea, a concept, or a product and applying that to real world scenarios. I was invited to join an advisory board for a product that is fantastic, and it's a disruptive technology, but it's a technology that's so important. We grab handrails every day through people mover, elevators, handrails on cruise ships, and there's those handrails are typically not sanitized. So when I was invited to join this advisory board, it sanitizes handrails. And who would it ever, now when you go and you grab that handrail at People Mover at O'Hare, you're going to think, wow, what's on that arm, handrail. So this little company is so great because it identified an opportunity in the marketplace. And I'm excited to be part of it because I could see this being a health standard in the near future.
Yeah. And is it that you see what you can add to it, or you get emotionally connected to the idea, or you like the challenge?
Both.
Yeah.
I really love building businesses. I really love, when you can come in and, a newly established business or a ground up business. I love coming in, figuring out how we can go to market, building the marketing plan around it, the strategy around how we go to market, what our story is, how we're going to evangelize the business, and how we're going to have true leaders in the marketplace to go out to evangelize their counterparts and their contemporaries. So I love seeing that. Remember those old Breck commercials that had, one picture and then the next, right? So that's what I love to kind of build with companies.
So it's kind of the strategy. Would you say that?
Yeah. Yeah. I love the strategy. And I think probably one of my biggest faults is that I always think 2 steps ahead. Like we've got the strategy here. Where do we want to be in December? Where do we want to be in February?
Because that goes back to the complex sale, because it is a strategic sale. Even It might not be a strategic change for the company, but it's multiple steps. It's most likely going to stall versus continue. And you have to lead it. Otherwise, you'll be reacting to it.
Right. Yes. And I believe that having a really robust pipeline and having a pipeline in vertical markets and focusing on those vertical markets really helps out, because we've all worked in organizations where there's been that one salesperson that's, it's kind of Gil's going to get it back, to quote a Simpsons, right? And that deal never comes through, and they've really wasted all their time and energy. And to your point, there will be ebb and flow with the deal flow. There will be where it seems like it's timing out, but it may be just the nature of the business at that point. So keeping current, but also having a robust pipeline where you can also work in conjunction with that business. I've never had one deal in the hopper and I've only focused on that one deal. To me, it's too risky.
Yeah, because every time I've seen that, the deal either doesn't close, it slips, or it comes in way smaller or different than it was
Yeah.
visualized.
Well, and the other golden rule that I have is, is I never calculate your commissions until the
That's
until
pretty
the
much a
deal.
guarantee that it won't happen.
If you run that calculator, you're not going to get that deal. So, wait till it's all past the attorney stage, and then you can figure it out.
Right, because we're visualizing, you know, a lot of things that might not happen.
Right. Right.
But how do you determine what to focus on? Because I heard a lot of optimism there, a lot of visionary stuff, but a lot of that stuff doesn't come to fruition, but can take up a lot of time. How do you balance that?
I think you have to, again, you have to be very close to the client. You have to understand, there may be 3 or 4 initiatives that the CEO wants. There may be 2 or 3 initiatives that the CIO wants, and there might be 1 initiative that the VP wants, right? So understanding those initiatives and prioritizing those for the business, and then backfilling that in with what you can provide to those solutions, to those answers,
Yeah,
to those questions that they have, and really understanding that, and don't try to sell them any kind of product that they don't need.
right. That's just a fool's errand.
Yeah, exactly.
And what are some of the key lessons that you've learned along the way?
Be human, be passionate, be caring, and also listen. And those are not any sort of order. I've seen in my professional career a lot of people stop listening, and they've really, when they stop listening, they've sold them the product, they've unsold them the product, they've sold them the product, they've fatigued the room. And really after 15 minutes, people really don't want to listen anymore. They want to kind of get their initiatives out.
And the listening, I think a lot of people misunderstand, is just not talking. There's a lot more to it than that. It's the understanding what the client wants and then making sure the client feels understood.
It's been interesting through this COVID, and the birth of the Zoom parties, the cocktail parties at 5 o'clock, and I'm sure that we all did them, whether they were cocktails involved or not. But you could always tell in the Zoom group who didn't have to sell anything, that wasn't really good at the art of the conversation. And because naturally, we're having a conversation here. You ask me a question, I respond, I ask you a question. We have a very good flow. And in a Zoom call, I found that at the beginning of the COVID, there was a couple of people who were just horrible on Zoom calls. They didn't understand sharing,
Participate.
sharing, participating, right?
You're not auditing the Zoom call.
Exactly.
You're not just in the audience. You're there to engage a little.
You don't have to raise your hand on every point.
Right. It can just be a little bit casual. Because it is different, because people are on a conference call, you don't talk until you're requested, right? Someone will ask you a question precisely by name, and then you stay quiet until then.
Yeah. And to your point, if you are quiet and there are conversations going to other, key members, you can learn and listen to the question really behind the question.
Yeah.
What are they really driving at? What is the concern here? What are their needs?
And that's the listening part, because it's not just the words. It's what's the real meaning, even because sometimes the client doesn't know.
Yeah.
They
may not know what they want.
A lot of times, right? I mean, I don't know if you ever remodeled your house, or, were a fish out of water when you were trying to buy something and you don't know the differences.
Yeah, great point. I mean, that's a really great point, because we're all consumers. And that's one of the things I always realize, that we're consumers. And when we go out into the wild and we're doing some home remodeling project, or we're purchasing something, the more detailed somebody gets and doesn't give me a cursory overview in the first 5 minutes, you've kind of lost me. So I think a really successful salesperson gives you a quick overview of the topics at discussion, and then says, if there's something that is a particular interest, stop me and let's talk about it. I was recently buying carpet. I'm not going to really, I'm really not going to worry about the warranty of the carpet 5 years from now. I'm not going to. It's just probably not going to be useful for me. But the person went hook, line, and sinker on what the warranty included.
Instead of
And,
asking what's important to you about carpet.
right. I mean, you should have said when we have a warranty, and if a warranty, Brian, was important to me, I would have said, what does the warranty include?
Yeah.
But I assume that, after a year, the carpet's be worn down, and 5 years, we should probably throw it away.
And I think as salespeople, we forget that. We think that's a feature, and it might be for someone.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the fact I was in an electronics Best Buy, and I was buying some $19. I don't even know what I think it was batteries. And the person was checking me out, asked me if I wanted to buy a warranty. And I thought, for batteries?
Yeah, 5-year.
Yeah. And then they hand you the receipt and circle at the bottom, say you can, if you call,
have to sign this.
Yeah, go in this email here and you can register to win $500. I'm curious. I want to find one person that has ever won $500 off of a store receipt. I mean, that's my challenge to you. By December 31st of this year, I want you to send me, talk to me and let me know if you find anybody that can win the $500 merchandise.
Well, that's it. That's that rote kind of habit that they go through that has no value for the client.
No. And I don't think anybody participates in it because they don't see the value.
No value. Right.
No, right. And it's just one of those things. Again, going back to when I ran the cosmetic company, we had retail stores. It was my MBA program, to be honest with you, because the buying consumers and the general public are so interesting behavior-wise. When they come into, imagine coming into a cosmetic store, and we did custom crafted at the point of purchase. So we were spending 45 minutes building everything, a full face, foundation, eyeshadow, right at the point of purchase. And the information, once you start engaging with people, our makeup artists started really engaging with individuals who would really talk about why they wanted this shade of lipstick. And it could be something as simple as memories. This shade of lipstick was the first lipstick I was wearing the first time I kissed my husband. Yeah. And those memories are so important to people's lives. It goes back to the tribe thing. When you can really understand that, I transitioned into a company that we did scent marketing. So every hotel, a lot of retail stores use scent marketing to create the experience. And in one resort in Las Vegas, we created in conjunction with the chief marketing officer, a fragrance that is so universally loved that it went into a candle that the individuals could buy at the store or at the retail store. So they wanted to take that experience back to their home. Did similar thing with Weston and SPG, which is now Bonvoy. When you walked into a Weston, if you travel a lot, if your eyes were closed and you just were just smelling the environment, you would know you were at a Weston. It's white tea and fig. And that carried all the way through, So now when I'm, memories and scent and music and all that stuff sit in the same part of your brain. Whenever I smell white tea and fig, I think of the Weston.
Yep. It's a very strong sense.
Powerful marketing right there. If you can get that kind of marketing, it's very powerful.
Cool. Hey, Andrew, I really appreciate your time today. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can send me an email, andrewyeager25@gmail.com.